Aldenderfer. And welcome to Amy's Gardening Thoughts, episode 6. It's May 29th in 2020, and we are in the middle of a COVID kind of phase 1 breakout at this point. But I really want to talk about gardening. So I'm going to let you know that what's gardening what's growing. That's our topic, one of our topics. Knowing in the garden, which I'll talk about educational topics that we have going on. Question of the week, and we'll do a desk check because some people like to see what are people's desks. Mine's a pretty messy desk, so we'll see if that intrigues you. If not, write it in the comments. I'll check it out, and if any of these topics are things that you want to hear about, or if you have other topics that you want to hear about, let me know through the comments in the YouTube channel, and I'll be happy to add those into the list. So here we go. What's growing? We have had a lot of rain lately this week, and last week it's rained just about almost every day. But during Wednesday, we planted the 4-H garden, and I'll show you some pictures. We have 3 raised beds that are 4x8. We have 8 kids that are in the garden club this year. So we have divided these into 9 sections because we needed a demonstration section for the adults to do. Hopefully we're going to do better than the kids, but sometimes that doesn't happen. When we had our beds built, you can see they're made out of reclaimed lumber. They were built, one of them is coming apart, as you may see in one of the photos. The reason we put the cardboard down is because we didn't want weeds to come through and fill up the box, come up from the bottom, and we wanted our plants to have a pretty good start. As you can see, there are some actual plants in the gardens. We did a good job. It was raining for at least the first 30-45 minutes that we were planting because we social distanced, and we had the kids come at 20-minute intervals. So we thought 20 minutes would be a good time to be able to plant their gardens, get their stuff, and go on home until we can meet together as a group. So we had a good time, but the volunteer and I were pretty soaked by the time we got about halfway through, and dried out by the end because it continued to sprinkle off and on all day. So we had a good time with that. My garden is growing pretty well. I've got some new plants. I tend to buy more plants, and we'll do probably at the beginning of June. We'll do a little tour of my backyard, and we'll see how the front yard's doing. But by then it probably may need some more weeding. So hopefully that'll work out for us, and we'll do that in the first couple of weeks of June to see what's growing in the backyard. So knowing in the garden, the horticulture agents in Kentucky have done what we call Horticulture Webinar Wednesdays, and they have been really, really popular throughout the state. We've had about over 100 people for most of them on a Zoom call, which is kind of interesting. And they're usually 30 to 45 minutes long on a specific topic. I would love to invite you all to join us. I'll put the website down here at the bottom of the screen, so you all can click on that and go. I'll also put it in the comments. But June the 3rd, Annette Heisdorffer is doing extending your vegetable gardening into the fall. Now, I know we have just started vegetable gardening here, but we need to plan to take it on into the fall. So it's one of those things that you kind of have to plan ahead a little bit, because if you need to start new tomato plants, or if you need to start your cole crops, your cauliflower, or your cabbage, or you need to find seeds for that, and finding seeds is very hard. So hopefully they'll come out with another crop of seeds out there, or save the seeds that you had so far. On June the 10th, Dr. Nicole Gauthier is having How Cool Are Fungi? It's the basics of plant disease. So we should be seeing some good diseases by then, especially with the rain that we've been having. June 17th is Strawberries by Dr. Shawn Wright. He is out in Eastern Kentucky at the Robinson substation doing research out there. I am on June 24th doing Attracting Pollinators, so we'll talk about all of our pollinators, not just bees. We'll kind of talk about question of the week. Usually the question of the week is, what kind of insect is this? So I'm going to show you a picture of an insect. And this picture was sent to me by a client, and she wanted to know what kind of insect this was. And well, from the picture, I can tell it's an ant, and that's about all I can tell because it's not really in focus. It's kind of blurry. The insect is the same color as the background, so it's kind of hard to tell. I actually sent this off to UK to be identified, and they do a pretty good job. And he came back with, it looked like it was a citronella ant. And as I sent that back to the client, she said, oh, she looked up citronella on the internet, and she said, but our ants were about 1/4 of an inch long, and it says citronella ants were smaller. And I'm like, well, I did the best that I could with the information that I had, and that's what we came back with. But I told her how to control the ants anyway. I recommended some bait stations so that they could take that back to the nest. She said there was just a few, but there wasn't, there wasn't a whole horde of them, but there was just a few ants. And I said, well, that will help you reduce the populations on there. Hopefully, she gets rid of her ant problem if she's got a problem. Sometimes those insects, though, will just kind of incidentally invade. I call them just kind of wandering invaders. And if you just see 1 or 2, probably not a big problem. But I do like to have, photos if you ask me what kind of insect. If you can catch the insect, you can actually put it in the freezer for a couple of hours, just in a Ziploc bag. Or if you're going to, maybe if you want to catch it into like a container, you can just put that whole container in the refrigerator or the freezer. The freezer will kill it. The refrigerator will just slow it down. But you can actually bring that to the office, drop it off in our lobby with your name and your phone number, and what kind of questions you have. Does it need to be controlled? Does it need to be, do I need to spray something for it? Or, is it just an incidental invader? And then I can look at it, use my resources, and let me tell you, excuse me, I have a lot of resources. So I have the Audubon Society books. This is one of my favorites, The Field Guide to Insects and Spiders of North America. Although this one's a pretty scary looking praying mantis. And then this one's also a good one, Simon and Schuster's Oops, Insects. This one was sent to us by the UK College Bag. So these are all really good books for insects. And they have, well, as I flip open to the page, they have really good pictures, on how, well, we'll get this video straightened out, on how to, on what you're looking at. Now, I probably wouldn't, if I saw this in a picture, I would probably say, okay, we've got ladybugs. I don't know that I could identify those down to the species from a picture like this. So we have some other resources. We have keys. I have the guys at UK, or the guys and gals at UK, that I can kind of send that to. But that's one of our services we provide. So hopefully we can get those identified for you. And if there needs to be a control, we can send you out that information also. So her insect was definitely an ant. That's about as far as I could go, because you have to for ants, you have to look at where the abdomen and the thorax are. And I could not see that in the picture. So I'm glad we came to that conclusion, and hopefully we will have a new question of the question of the week next week. Desk check. So my desk has been kind of crazy lately, and I'll show you a picture. Okay, so what you're looking at is on the left, I have a stack of white corrugated plastic, and those are the labels for our trial garden, which I will talk about next. The grass looking things are ink pens that are just fun on my desk. The pile of seeds is left over from the 4-H garden that we had, and you see my insect books there. I was identifying insects all week. I've got my colored pens for my planner. I had to go back to a paper calendar because Outlook and iCloud were not talking to each other for a while, and I didn't want to lose my stuff. And I have an ever-present mug of something caffeinated, either iced tea or a carbonated beverage of some point. So that's what you can see on my desk this week. It's been a hectic week. The plastic tote in the background on the far right is left over from our Bug Bingo brown bag project that we had on the Tuesday, the 26th. So I need to clean my desk off. You can see Fluffy back there in the chairs. He was back there. He's actually turned halfway around so you can see his face, but his face blends into the chair. So I have my hand sanitizer back there, and I always have a little bowl of hard candy on there just in case I need a little thinking piece for that. If you can find other things on my desk, congratulations. But that's pretty much what we're doing today. So here's my desk check. The other thing that we need to talk about that is not in my show notes is the trail garden. We planted the trail garden this week in amongst the rain. It's doing very, very well. And starting June 1st, we will have the evaluation pieces out there. They will be in a big plastic box. It'll look like one of those house for sale boxes that you can lift the lid. It'll have pencils, it'll have paper, and they'll have one at each end. So if you start the evaluation at one end and you go to the end, you don't have to walk to the other side. But you're welcome to come out any time of the day or night. Just go into the second entrance. It's back by it's not back by the tree line, but it's near the trees. And you can definitely evaluate. Now, let me tell you, it's really easy to do. There's 20 different kinds of plants that we went through last time. And you give it a rating of 0 to 5. 0 means that it's dead. It's never coming back. It's awful. 5 means that it's the best it's ever looked. It's got its flowers on. There's no disease. There's no insect damage. There's nothing to that. So you really want to kind of evaluate. We evaluate once a month, hopefully within the first 10 days of the month, but we really don't care because you can put the date that you evaluate on the top of the page for that. And then that way we have data that we send to the university, and we collect data from around the state. There's about 20 gardens that we're taking data on, and we tend to have a research report done at the end of the year for that. So we try to evaluate these plants for suitability of growing in Kentucky. Do they tolerate our wet springs, which is, I think we're going to have one. Are they going to tolerate our hot, dry summers? Because usually there's a drought period in there somewhere. How far do they go into the fall? Will they tolerate some frost? Or are they just spring plants? Or do they need to be planted when it gets really hot like Vinca do? So we're going to figure that out. Once we get them established, and I'm pretty bad, I only water them like twice or 2 or 3 times, and then they have to live on their own. I'm the worst plant parent in the world because you need to survive on your own cognizance for a little bit. So hopefully I'm not too harsh on them and they will do very well for us. But we like to have that feedback. So come to the Extension office, the Hardin County Extension office. We are at 111 Opportunity Way in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And I'll put our phone number in the show notes if you have a little trouble finding us, or just Google us, or we're on Waze, we're on Google Maps, we're everywhere. So hopefully that'll do it for this week. It's been kind of a busier week this week. And if you've got any questions or thoughts, put them in the comments. I'll talk to you later, and happy gardening.